Yo, what is up, everyone? We are back. This is the Climb the Pocket YouTube page. If you are new, welcome. We are happy to have you. My name is Steve Catalano. You can find me on Twitter at Steve_CTP. You can find Ryan McGinley, my awesome guest, at Bootleg Fantasy. Once again, we have another fun fantasy football video for you today. Today, we're going over our top 20 running backs and risers and fallers from our rankings a little over a month ago in May. So, we're going to talk about some running backs who have moved up our individual ranks, down our individual ranks, and then our consensus of both of our rankings. So it should be a good one. A lot of people love running back rankings. This is premium YouTube content here for you. We got that for you today. So Ryan, what is up, man?
Well, I'm still not used to your new Twitter handle. I'm still waiting for Steve 2.0 on the intro. So, the new Twitter handle is clean. I said it last week. Even though my weeks are like somehow spreading apart and getting closer together. Like, I feel like it's been a while since we've been on a video together, even though we do the same schedule every single week. So it's good to be back, Steve. That's really the main thing.
It does feel like a long time, probably because I was just blowing so much stuff up this weekend and my eardrums are gone, my brain memory loss, it's all there. But nonetheless, we are back. So let's get into the video and talk about our top 20 running backs for 2020 fantasy football. Let's go ahead and move right into it. Coming up, number one, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry. The top four, no change, but Derrick Henry slips into the top five. That's most likely because of the fall of Dalvin Cook and his holdout potential. Not much to add besides that. I think the top four are probably going to stay that way unless some crazy barring injury or new news of some other type of holdout or anything like that. I think Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Ezekiel Elliott, and Kamara are locked into the top four. Derrick Henry creeping up. He's creeping up in my rankings too. He moves up, and I think he probably would have moved up anyway, even if Dalvin Cook had no threat. I'm kind of liking Derrick Henry a little more, just as he's becoming more of a safe pick, kind of in that Ezekiel Elliott kind of class for me. I just feel like there's no way he doesn't, a top three rusher in the league with just a ton of touchdowns. Again, he's the focal point of the offense. So I'm very excited for Derrick Henry. Are you surprised by any of these top five?
I just want to echo the sentiment on Derrick Henry. I'm pretty sure he's made of Kevlar. I don't think there's a safer pick outside the top three than Derrick Henry. And I mean, like that's not really saying a whole lot, right? Like Derrick Henry's a top five running back. But I mean, I can't stress enough the fact that when I'm picking the first four rounds, I want guys that I know are consistent. I mean, I think over Twitter, I mean, more this year than ever, I've seen consistency charts and things that echo making sure you've got consistency across your entire fantasy team. Like, that's why Zeke Elliott is one of the premier guys in the league. I mean, he's a consistent ball carrier. He gets his touches whenever he needs them. And I mean, I can't echo enough how important Derrick Henry is to that Titans offense. So I love moving him up. I think I would have been in the same boat with you where Dalvin Cook might have just dropped regardless of this holdout. I mean, we haven't heard anything since the initial wave of Dalvin Cook holdouts, but I still think he'll be ready and he'll be in camp, especially after we saw a fat contract handed out earlier. I think the Vikings are going to have to pay up the guy. So I think that this is probably going to be my top five going into the year. I mean, we're almost there anyway, but I don't see a whole lot of change going forward.
I can see some shuffling, with our number 7 guy here on the screen, Joe Mixon. If his holdout kind of gets taken care of, I could see him boosting up a little bit. I could see Dalvin Cook, Mixon, Henry, Kamara. I can see these guys kind of shuffling around as we get to draft season. People are going to kind of not know exactly what to do, where to take these guys. Some people don't feel comfortable taking Henry at number 5 or 6, and I could see their argument, but it's becoming more comfortable for me. But number 6, we have Dalvin Cook. Number 7, I mentioned Joe Mixon. Number 8, Josh Jacobs. Number 9, Aaron Jones. And number 10, Miles Sanders. Now, the biggest mover, like I mentioned, Dalvin Cook moves down 1. Miles Sanders moves up 1. And the other guys pretty much stay the same. I mean, I know you got Miles Sanders at number 8. He's up 2 spots for you. He's down
Yes,
number
sir.
1 to number 13 for me. So you're definitely holding that rank for him at our number 10 spot.
I mean, what do you want me to tell you about
Every
Miles
time.
Sanders? Listen, Steve, the
There
heart
it
on the
is.
screen, that's what I feel when I see Miles Sanders touch the ball. The running back by committee thing is an overplayed thing across Twitter where people want to bring down Miles Sanders' ADP. There's a tweet today by Ian Hartitz. He normally puts out good stats. I just don't know how to say his last name. But the top four Doug Peterson single game running back snap rates, 2016 to 2019, also known as Doug Peterson's entire tenure. 2019, Miles Sanders week 13, 87%. 2019, week 11, Miles Sanders, 85%. 2019, week 12, Miles Sanders, 85%. 2019, week 16, Miles Sanders, 81%. All I'm saying is it's overblown that he's in a committee. Boston Scott, it might be a change of pace back every other drive, possibly on third downs. But Miles Sanders is so good in pass protection. If you search Miles Sanders pass protection, you're going to see some clips that you want to put on a YouTube reel. I'm that high on Miles Sanders. He's my eighth running back, and he's a fringe first round guy. And if you get him in the second round as your second running back, or even as your first running back, feel great because he's going to produce.
Yeah, I don't buy the whole Boston Scott stuff. He's a late round target for people. They're like, oh, look what he did at the end of the year last year. I'm like, what running back doesn't do a lot when given the opportunity in the NFL, especially behind their offensive line? Like, it doesn't make sense. You could put anyone out there, they'd probably do decent given the workload. And like you just mentioned, Miles Sanders on the field a lot. He's really not, in a committee based on those snap percentages. So it makes sense. I think he just moved up a couple ranks, and definitely we'll have to go over another month from now, and he'll probably moved up in mine. Probably move up, but he's already number 10 on our list, so I don't know how much higher he can get. A guy that moves down for you is Aaron Jones. He moves down one spot. He stays at number 9 for me, but he's our 9th running back. And I guess maybe it's the homer in me, the bias in me, because I'm a Packers fan, but I know his touchdown potential is, he led the league in touchdowns last year, 16 rushing touchdowns, 3 through the air. And most of his work through the air was when Devontae Adams was off the field. I don't think that just because they drafted A.J. Dillon that he's going to, lose snaps or anything like that. I think we've talked about this in the past. Jamal Williams loses the snaps to A.J. Dillon, and I like Aaron Jones as a focal point of that offense. I think he's a guy that Aaron Rodgers can trust, especially in the passing game because they don't have that many receiving weapons. I think they pass a little bit more this year, and in a PPR league, I think that screams value for Aaron Jones, and he's kind of not plummeting, but he's dropping in these drafts. You'll find him. I'd say come draft day, you'll find him at the end of round 2, potentially in round 3, depending on the type of league. If you're in a league from Chicago or something like that, you'll definitely find him in round 3. But I'm just a big fan of Aaron Jones. His efficiency throughout his career has just been off the charts. He's always been a big yards per carry guy, yards per attempt guy. So I like Aaron Jones at number 9 if he's my RB1, and I got a really good wide receiver in round 1. I'm happy with that. If he's my second RB and I have a high pick running back, I'm happy with that too. I think he's not like the definition of a workhorse, but I think he in that Packers offense, a team that went 13-3 last year. I know they were a fraud 13-3 team, but a good offense with Aaron Rodgers leading the way. I'm not scared of too much. Yeah, touchdown regression's coming, but that doesn't mean that he can't increase in other categories. Maybe not the efficiency, but he can still get more yardage. He can still get more work through the passing game. So I like Aaron Jones as my 9th running back. So I'm definitely happy with that. Let's go ahead and move on to 11 through 15. We have Austin Eckler, Kenyon Drake, Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, and Todd Gurley. A guy that moves up for you. Austin Eckler moves up one spot. Nick Chubb goes down 2 for you. Nick Chubb goes up 1 spot for me. So he's your number 10. You previously had him at number 8. Talk a little bit about Mr. Nick Chubb.
Yeah, the thing is with Nick Chubb, right? He has Kareem Hunt in the backfield, and yes, that's concerning to me. Like I do think that passing downs, Kareem Hunt's going to be the guy, right? But he's still a top 10 running back to me as per my rankings. I think he's going to be an offense that's much more efficient than it was last year. It was historically bad in the red zone. I mean, Nick Chubb was historically bad in the red zone as well. I think it was 15 carries for negative 14 yards or negative 15 yards for 14 carries. Something ridiculous. Nick Chubb could not find the end zone from inside the 5-yard line. Baker Mayfield was terrible in the red zone as well. They have a new coach. They got, Stefanski. They can't be worse than they were in the green areas of the field. I think Nick Chubb will benefit from that. I think Nick Chubb was a Derrick Henry game away from being the leading rusher in the league last year. I know he's not sexy, but he's like a discount Derrick Henry, where he runs the ball 20 times a game, and he looks good doing it. And if they rely more on Nick Chubb and less on Baker Mayfield, I think the Browns will have more success. I think it's tough for the Browns to, kind of lean on Baker this year. So I think they're going to start feeling out their running back room, and I really do think that Nick Chubb will be a solid draft pick in the second round.
Yeah, there's definite positive touchdown regression for him coming this year. I mean, I owned him in a few leagues last year, and it was definitely hard to watch him on the goal
Yeah,
line. The O line didn't get it done. He didn't get it done. The team didn't get it done. Baker didn't get it done. The Browns just didn't get it done. The hype was too high. But Nick Chubb definitely had a fantastic season. And I think if Kareem Hunt wasn't there, his talent, and everyone always says, he's probably a top 3 or 4 fantasy pick. Like, no doubt. This guy is electric on the ground. He's one of the best runners in the league. I love Nick Chubb. It just sucks that Kareem Hunt is there because when they brought him back the final 8 games, he was just on the field. They ran so many 2 running back sets, you just had no idea. And every time Kareem Hunt caught a ball out of the backfield, 7, 8 catches or something, just sucked because Nick Chubb was getting no receiving work at all. And, that definitely helps, especially in a PPR league. And he's not getting the touchdowns that Derrick Henry's getting. So he doesn't have that safety blanket of being that guy that's going to cash in the end zone and can make up for some of those catches. So Nick Chubb, he's our number 13 back. I think he's probably going to hover around there until draft day. Todd Gurley moves up 2 spots for me, and I talked about this in the last video. I'm starting to like him a little more in that offense. That offense is going to be premier. They've got Julio, they've got Ridley, they've got Matt Ryan, a fantastic, really steady quarterback in the NFL, and there's no one else there to battle him for touches. I mean, you've had him at 15. Now I'm pretty much right where you are. He's our consensus 15, and I think he's going to get the goal line work. I think he's going to do some work out of the backfield. And whether or not the Falcons are great this year, even though they have all those offensive weapons, we'll see. But I think he's going to be a focal point. If he could stay healthy, I don't think there's a way he doesn't really return, this number 15 RB draft position. I like Todd Gurley. He's starting to become a little more safe. If you get past the
100%.
injury, if you get past like the thought of the injuries, which you should be able to, because last year he only missed like 1 game, and it was early on, and he made it down the stretch. And everyone was freaking out last year about drafting Todd Gurley. So now, if you can put that in the past, leave that in 2018, I think there's a way where he continues to move up in drafts. I've seen him go in round 3, and earlier in draft season, he was going end of round 4, sometimes early round 5, which I thought was crazy.
we're really gonna get some weird games out of Todd Gurley. We're gonna get some like elite games out of Todd Gurley, and then like you'll get some games that like definitely play for fantasy where he's got like 6 carries, 12 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you're like, I mean, that's fine. Like, I think there's going to be weird stat lines for Todd Gurley. He's not really the model of consistency that I look for in a fantasy running back, but he's going as an RB2. I mean, you're drafting him essentially to be Devonta Freeman of past. I mean, he should be a pretty solid play. He's safe, and he's around those guys that aren't very safe, So I feel like Todd Gurley is definitely a solid pick for me if he's sitting there and I already have 2 or 3 guys on my team.
Would you consider that like a clear teardrop, like after Nick Chubb at 13 or after Fournette at 14? What would you say?
I don't want to like Leonard Fournette, right? I don't think Fournette is good, but the 100 targets last year is intriguing to me. I think it gets cut down to about 70 this year. So I think Fournette's teetering right there. So if I'd have to say, it'd probably be Fournette.
Yeah, I think Todd Gurley leads the pack of the next tier of running backs, which would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, and then you get into your James Connors, your Mark Ingrams, and that kind of is our next top 5, or our 16 through 20 there. Like I said, Clyde, Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, James Conner. All these guys kind of pan out for me to be very similar. They're going to probably be your RB2 if you go wide receiver early, or they're going to possibly be your flex if you have your 3rd running back, which I think would be great. If you had one of these guys in your flex position and you're able to get 3 top 20 running backs, I mean, I live by that, going running back early, especially this year where I feel like every year running backs early gets talked about, but this year seems overblown. Like you're going to get incredible wide receiver value in this year's drafts because of the questions around Melvin Gordon on a new team, David Johnson on a new team, James Conner, coming back from injury and whatnot. These guys can be top fantasy running back options. They have been in the past. They just have some questions behind them and whatnot. So a guy that moves down for me a couple spots is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'm starting to not know exactly what's going on. I think there was some news that came out that they want Damian Williams to be very
Yeah,
involved in this offense,
yeah,
which is going to take a hit to his rankings. I guess, I mean, he did go up in your last round of rankings, but this news was very, very new. So I'd assume you had him at
yeah,
19 before. I think he's probably hovering around 19 or 18 for you still, but that
yeah,
news wasn't good for Mr. Clyde.
yeah. I'm always wary of running backs that are rookies. Just because you don't know what you're going to get out of them, and the hype is always there early. I mean, he's a good pass catching back, but I mean, we kind of need to see him in pass pro. I mean, they just gave Mahomes $500 million, and they're not going to trot out a guy who can't block a linebacker on a blitz. So it's going to be interesting with Hilaire. He's one of the guys that, like, he's not a consistent. He doesn't feel like he should be a consistent guy. And he's not a safe pick to me, and like that just goes back on me always wanting a safe, consistent guy in the first couple of rounds. So it's going to be tough for me to take Hilaire unless there's a discount. Uh, I think he'll be heavily involved in that offense, but like a week to week base. I mean, we've seen it with the wide receivers there, where if they're not Tyreek Hill, they might have a game where they have one catch for 18 yards, or they have a blow up game. So I'm steering away from him, but I understand the appeal.
I feel like, and I don't know. I feel like he's going to get drafted sort of high in
Yeah,
like even like home leagues. Like people are just going to be like, oh, he's with Mahomes. He's on the Chiefs. The Chiefs use one
exactly.
running back. Like he's going to get drafted higher, which is probably why I won't own a lot of them. I'll certainly own one share probably just because you know you don't want to miss out on that
Yeah,
guy if he is the guy. But I kind of see myself if I'm going rookie, I kind of wait just a round or two later for Jonathan Taylor and take a stab at that because I think his upside behind the Colts offensive line is arguably better, you know, a clearer path to a workhorse workload, you know, and 75% carry rate or whatever of the team. I think Jonathan Taylor might be a little safer when it comes to rookies. Another running back that comes into our top 20, Le'Veon Bell sneaks out. He was our 20th running back last time, and I'm not unhappy about that because I'm not a big Le'Veon Bell guy. But James Conner sneaks in. He's 2 spots up. He's 1 spot up on you, and he stayed at the same for me. He's been number 20. Just last year was drafted in the first round, and
yeah,
then dealing with injuries all year and whatnot. You'll see what a season before can do to the rankings the next year. They call it what just that consensus sometimes are copied and pasted from last year's finishes, and that's kind of what's happening
yeah,
with James Conner. His injuries are just becoming unreliable. You know, Todd Gurley had it last year, and now James Conner's got it this year. They pretty much just swap spots. I think James Conner, if he can stay healthy, even if he misses like 1 or 2 games, I think he can continue to do what he did in 2018 when he was that breakout star when Le'Veon Bell held out. He just had some pretty unlucky stretches where he was injured and came back, and they were like, should we bring him back? They bring him back. He goes out again. And that didn't help. We saw that with like a wide receiver like Adam Thielen last year, did the same thing, battled hamstring injuries all year long. And that's not healthy for any football player. It's such a gruesome game. These guys need to get fully healthy before they can perform at maximum efficiency, maximum, you know, talent, ability, and all that. So I think James Conner is a kind of a not a dart throw because he's not super late, but he's a dart throw to you know return top 15 upside on a good Steelers team with a good offensive line. And if he can do anything of what he did in 2018, it's going to be just a huge win in your fantasy football drafts, no doubt.
So with Connor, he's the classic guy that if you go not running back heavy in the first 2 rounds, he's your almost Hail Mary play. He's got the same kind of appeal to me as Odell Beckham Jr., where like you know that if the volume's there and everything goes to the plan that they hope could possibly happen, he could be a top 10 running back. I mean, we've seen him do it. But it really just comes down to luck at that point. I like the talent. I've never really liked the body of injuries, and I mean I like him a lot, right? And like if you get him as your flex, that's fine. But once again, consistency is key. I mean, you have to have guys in your lineup every week, and James Conner does not find himself in the lineup every week.
I feel like I like his team more than I like him. You know, I've never really been that into James Conner as a runner and as a running back in the NFL. But behind that offensive line, when Big Ben's healthy with Juju there, you know, if they can all stay healthy and be on the field, I think that offense is pretty good. And I think James Conner will have a fine season. But if things start to derail on any of those guys I just
Exactly.
mentioned, I think it affects the other guy, and that's kind of how the offense works. Everyone needs to be there for it to mesh, and
The,
I don't know.
the Steelers are dangerously tiptoeing with having to reset their entire offense.
Yeah.
An injury to Big Ben early in the season, you may see a lot of things tested, like especially if they don't win as many games in the first 5 or 6 games and Big Ben doesn't look good. You may see some stuff that gets shaken up a little bit. So it's tough to say James Conner should be your running back too. If he's your flex, that's fine.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. That was our top 20 running backs. We talked about some risers and fallers in our personal ranks and the Climb the Pocket consensus rankings. Follow us on Twitter at Climb the Pocket. Fun, engaging group we got there. Tons of followers, tons of polls, lots of good topics. We're giving you the stat of the day every day, so that's fun. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you like it right now, if you're new, why don't you try subscribing? You're not going to miss out on any of our great content. We're going to help you win those fantasy football championships come the winter time. Go over to the website, Climb the Pocket, pumping out articles every single day. A lot of good writers over there, a lot of good articles to help you win, help you prepare for the drafts all summer long. Until next time, thanks for stopping by. We had a really good time, and we'll see you in the next video.